Welcome back. Now we will discuss the types of antigen antibody reactions. There are five types of antigen antibody reactions. The first one is precipitation reaction, then we have agglutination, then we have a complement fixation, then ELISA, and immunofluorescence. The precipitation reaction, it occurs when a soluble antigen combines with its antibody in the presence of an electrolyte like NaCl at a particular temperature and pH. It will form a insoluble precipitate of AgAb complex. This reaction is called as precipitation reaction. The antibody that is causing the precipitation is called precipitin, and the reaction is called a precipitation reaction. So a soluble antigen combines with its antibody in the presence of an electrolyte at a particular temperature and pH, and it forms a insoluble precipitate called AgAb complex. This precipitate is insoluble and it will precipitate in the reaction. That is why it is called as precipitation reaction, and that antibody is called as precipitin. There are different types of precipitation reaction. It can happen in a liquid, that is precipitation in liquid. It can happen in gel, it is called precipitation in gel. So in liquid, what is happening is that we are placing a constant amount of antibody in a series of test tube, and we will be adding increased amount of antigen into each test tube. So the antigen and antibody will react to each other and they will form this precipitate. The plotting of the amount of precipitate against the increasing concentration of antigen will yield a precipitation curve. I will show you the precipitation curve. So in the precipitation curve, we can say there are three zones: the antibody excess zone, equivalence zone, and antigen excess zone. Next, we are having precipitation in gel. This is also called as radial immunodiffusion or Mancini technique. So in this, what happens is that we will plate agar gels or similar gels are used on plates or in Petri plates, and both the antigen and antibody will diffuse freely in the gel system in all the direction. And at a certain point, depending upon the rate of diffusion and the concentration of the antigen and antibody, a zone of equivalence will be formed, and we can see a ring that is actually the insoluble precipitate that is formed. If the antigen or antibody, the preparations are complex, we can see multiple bands or multiple zones of equivalence. And there are two types of this diffusion. First one is the single diffusion, and then we have double diffusion. This is the diagram of Mancini technique. So this is we can see the zone of equivalence. There is a round ring that is where the antigen antibody complex has been precipitated. This is the figure of double immunodiffusion. Here we can see the antigen and antibody, they will migrate from both the sides, and like in the middle of the plate they will form this zone of equivalence. Next, the next type of reaction is agglutination reaction. Here what happens is that an antigen is mixed with its antibody in the presence of electrolytes at a suitable temperature and pH, and the particles will be clumped. They will form clumps, just like when we are testing our blood groups, we will look for clumps, right? That is an example of agglutination reaction only. So they will form clump, or you can say they are agglutinated. So the antibody of the serum will causes this cellular antigen to form clumps, and these are called as agglutinins. In this agglutination reaction, the antibodies will be called as agglutinins, and the particular antigens that are aggregated are termed as agglutinogens. So the antibody is called agglutinins and the antigens will be called as agglutinogens. It is very similar to what we have called what we have said in the precipitation reaction, but in the case of forming an insoluble precipitate, here clumps or agglutinates are formed. So there are different types of agglutination reaction. We can perform it on slide, or you can perform it on tube, and there is also something called as agglutination inhibition and passive agglutination test. Slide agglutination is what we do in the blood grouping system, that is the hemagglutination reaction. In this, what we are doing is that we will use a uniform suspension of a particular antigen, and a drop of saline is added, and then a drop of antiserum is added, and we can gently rock this slide, or a fine loop can be used to mix the contents. And if there are granulation, or if you see clumps, it is a positive test. So this is a very rapid test. Actually, it will take less than a minute to do, and this result can be it can be visible by naked eye. So for confirmation, you can take it under to a microscope and observe the slide. So this is a very rapid test, the slide agglutination. Tube agglutination, the principle is very similar to slide agglutination. There will be this is actually can be told as a standard method for quantitative estimation of antibody. Here what we are doing is the antibody, it is diluted serially with saline in several tubes, and then constant volume of antigen is added to each of these test tube. We can keep a control tube that is having no antiserum, and then the tubes are incubated for visible agglutination to be observed. Then the tube showing the highest agglutination is referred to as titer. This tube agglutination is employed for the diagnosis of typhoid or typhus fever or brucellosis. The famous Vidal test for the typhoid fever, that is an application of tube agglutination. And in this test, what will happen, we will take the antibody content of the patient's serum, and it is measured adding a constant amount of antigen, that is Salmonella typhi, to the serially diluted serum. That is how the test is conducted. This is the figure showing this tube agglutination, serial dilutions of the antibody, and we will keep a control, and we can see the agglutination formed. Next is passive agglutination test. This is very similar to the hemagglutination test we use for blood grouping, but the physical nature of the reaction is altered. Here we are the antigen, it is coated on the surface of a carrier particle, and by coating it with a carrier particle, it will convert a precipitation reaction into a agglutination reaction, making the reaction more sensitive. The carrier particles used can be RBC or lactose particles or bentonite. Sometimes RBC is coated with polystyrene, that is called as tanned RBC. They are also used. This patient serum will be mixed with these, and it will lead to agglutination. An application is this test is used for the diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis. So here there is nothing is happening. Actually, we are using a carrier particle for the antigen. Okay, and that will help in converting the precipitation reaction into an agglutination reaction. So it will make the reaction more sensitive. The next reaction is agglutination inhibition. The best example of this is the pregnancy test that we will do at home, right? The card test that we'll do for pregnancy at home. This is an example of agglutination inhibition. So what will happen, already in the kit reagent there will be a hapten carrier conjugate. We know HCG is the pregnancy hormone, so there will be a hapten carrier conjugate, and the anti-HCG antibody will be present. So what you have to do, you will, in the urine there will be this hormone present. So if the patient is pregnant, what will happen, there will be no visible clumping, because the HCG in the urine will react with the antibody, that is anti-HCG antibody, that is present in the kit. So it will not form the clump with the hapten carrier conjugate. So there will be no visible clumping. So there will be no clumping. So that is the reaction here. But if you are not pregnant, what will happen? There will be no HCG in the urine. So this anti-HCG antibody will bind with the hapten carrier conjugate, and it will form clumping. So that is the agglutination inhibition reaction. The next type of reaction is complement fixation. We all know what is complement, right? Complement is a system comprising of 11 proteins, and it is present in every individual. What will happen is that these complements will bind to the Fc component of the antibody involved in the antigen antibody complex. So this ability of the antigen antibody complex to fix complement is called as complement fixation test. This is the figure showing the test. So how the complement fixation test work is that if we are having a serum with antibody and the serum without antibody, to this serum with antibodies, that is the patient serum with antibody, we will be adding the antigen, and the antigen will bind with the antibody. We all know complement will bind with AGAB complex. So they have if you are adding the complement, it will bind with the AGAB complex. The RBCs, they are actually lysed in the presence of free complement. So we will use RBCs as an indicator. So if the complement is already binded with already bound with this AGAB complex, then this RBCs will settle as pellets under centrifugation. But if there is in the case of when there are no antibodies present in the patient serum, there will be unbound antigens, there will be unbound complement, and the RBC, the complement will be available for the RBC, and the RBCs will be lysed, and there will be no pellets received. So that is how the complement fixation text work.